everyone, it's Stephanie here and welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be playing with the Pizza Maker Dynamics as well as the Pizza My Heart stamp set to create a fun, unique window card, and we're going to actually put the window right in the center of the pizza that we create. So before we get to the window portion of the card, we need to create the pizza that we're going to feature on the front. So you can see here I have all of the dies and I've already went ahead and die cut all of the pieces from cardstock. So this die consists of all three layers that you need to create the crust, the sauce, and the cheese, and then it also has all of the toppings. And the great thing about the toppings is that they're all connected together and you die cut 4 of each topping at once, so it makes it really quick and easy to die cut a bunch to fill your entire pizza. Now you can do the toppings one of two ways. You could die cut them all from colored cardstock, or you could do what I'm going to do on mine and cut them from white and then just add the color with either Copic markers or colored pencils or any type of other coloring medium. To add a little bit of interest and dimension to our layers of pizza, I'm going to use some ink and add a little bit of ink around the edges of each of the pieces. So for the base layer here, which is the crust, I've die cut it from natural cardstock and I used craft ink to do the ink blending on the side. And I did make sure to add a little bit of darker areas just to kind of give it that little bit of a burnt look on the edges. For the sauce, I used tangy orange cardstock as well as ink. And for the cheese here, I have whipped cream cardstock, which is a nice kind of beigey color. And I used the natural ink on that one to add a little bit of color around the edges just to make it look nice and cooked. So you can see when we layer all those pieces together that it just adds a little bit more to them rather than leaving them completely plain. Once we get all of the color on the base layers, we can go ahead and move on to all of the pizza toppings. This is one of my favorite parts. I just think it's a lot of fun to kind of pick out colors and try and make them look as realistic as possible. So I'm starting off first with the green peppers, and I use YG17 as the base color, and G28 is my little bit of a darker color just to add a little bit of shading to these pieces. They are relatively small, so you don't necessarily have to do the shading, but you'll see in the finished pizza that you really do notice it, and I just think it really adds to it and really makes it look realistic. For the pepperoni, I used R08 and I used E07, which gave it a nice kind of crisp burnt edge. And then for the olives, I used a super dark brown rather than black. For the mushrooms, I used E40 and E42, and then I did end up coming in with E43 as well. I didn't feel like there was enough darkness on the sides for the shading, so I did add a little bit of a darker color. When I started coloring all of the toppings, I wasn't sure if I was going to use all of them, but I did color everything just in case, and I'm glad I did because I did use all of them. So for the pineapple, I used Y13 and Y08. For the little ham pieces, I used R21 and R22, and then I finished off with the onions there, and I used some shades of purple. So now I have all of our toppings here, and we are ready to start assembling our pizza. The only thing I don't have is one of the ham pieces. We only have 3 of those. I colored it and kind of messed it up a little bit, so I just discarded that one and decided not to use it. Other than that, we are going to use every single topping that I have here to completely fill up our pizza. So now I'm giving you a little look at where I want to create the little heart window in the middle of the pizza. This is going to be done in stages because I have lots of layers. I have all 3 layers of the base of the pizza. I have the toppings that I'm going to add on top. And then I also want to die cut this through the card front. So I'm not going to be able to die cut this all at once. So I will do it in pieces and you'll see how I do that here in just a minute. Before I start to do any of the die cutting though, I do want to completely cover my pizza with all of the toppings. This is also a lot of fun. I love kind of just adding the glue on them and then just kind of picking where to add them. I tried to keep everything kind of random. I didn't want to make it look like the pizza was exactly positioned evenly everywhere. And I love the look of having some of the toppings layered over top of one another. So I am going to speed this part up just so you can see me put all of the pieces on the pizza but not take forever to do it. It does take a little bit of time since they are small, but I just took it my time. I used a liquid glue pen, which I found was the easiest way to add the adhesive to all of the small pieces. And I just have a little piece of scratch paper there beside me that I can use to kind of lay my pieces on and get the glue on them without getting it all over my work surface. And you can see as I'm finishing it up here that the die that cuts out the pieces, like I mentioned before, I only die cut everything once because there is multiple of each piece. All of those little pieces, 4 of each of them minus 1 ham piece, completely filled that pizza. So you only have to die cut it once to get a really nice full pizza. If you prefer it to not look this busy, you could use less pieces. And if you want it to look even more full, you could just die cut additional pieces. So now I have my completed pizza, or at least the sauce and the cheese and all of the toppings, and we can start to do the die cutting process. So I'm going to cut the heart through this piece first. I don't have it attached to the crust part because I already have quite a few layers here. I did have to run this through my die cut machine twice, so I think I should have probably put the toppings on the cheese first and not added the sauce, and I think I would have had a little bit of an easier time die cutting it. But it did work out fine. I ran it through twice and I was able to get enough pressure to fully die cut that heart out of that pizza piece. And then once I had that part done, then I can start to figure out where the positioning is going to be on all of the other pieces so that I can continue to die cut everything. I am going to keep that little heart. I want to include that on the finished card, so don't lose that. So I'm just going to take the sauce piece here now and add it to the crust. And then I'm going to take a pencil and I'm going to trace around the opening on the inside of that heart there. That's going to give me an idea of where I need to position the die to run this through my die cutting machine. And then I can adhere the top piece onto the crust. So you can see there now I have it fully assembled. And now we can do the die cutting on the card front. This is going to change in a few minutes. I decided to do something a little bit different, but this is how I started out. I wanted to have a white card base. I wanted to feature the pizza in the center and then have a simple stamped sentiment underneath. So what I'm doing is I'm tracing that opening and positioning the heart over top. I'm going to adhere it in place with a piece of repositionable tape, and I'm going to open up the card to make sure I don't cut through the back, and I'm going to run this through my die cutting machine. Once I have it die cut, my piece of pizza is going to layer over top of this perfectly, and we're going to have a little window in the inside of that pizza. I put a bunch of adhesive on the back of this. Having so many layers and running it through a die cut machine a bunch of times did kind of warp it a little bit, so I wanted to make sure it adhered fully flat. And I just adhered it right over top of that window opening. Once I had the pizza adhered, I took the little heart piece and added glue to that as well. And then I added it into the open window with the card closed and pressed down to adhere it to the inside area of the card. So now when the card is closed, it looks like the pizza is complete. But when you open the card, you have this little heart window and you have the little piece of pizza on the inside that's shaped like a heart. I just thought it was really cute and it's going to coordinate great with the sentiment that we're going to use that I'm going to stamp on here now. So I have my sentiment in my Mini MISTI just in case I mess it up at all. I've already created that whole entire pizza part, so I wanted to make sure the sentiment was perfect on the card. And I have it saying, "I love you with every piece in my heart," which I thought went perfectly with this window design. Okay, so here's where I decided to change things up. I didn't like how plain it looked with just the white card base. So what I did is I trimmed down the white piece and ended up with just a white panel for the front as well as the inside. And I traced it onto a piece of jelly bean green cardstock, and I'm going to die cut a heart from that as well. I want to make sure that the window goes right through to the inside of the card, so I need to do that additional die cut piece. And then I can adhere this white piece directly over top. So the pizza panel now measures 4 inches by 5 1/4, and the finished card is going to be A2, which is 5 1/2 by 4 1/4 inches. I'm adding adhesive to the entire back of this panel, and I'm just going to adhere it over top of the jelly bean green cardstock and make sure that the windows are lined up so that you can see inside it. I also trimmed down that inside panel and I've lined it up with the window on the front of the card, and I'm adding adhesive to the back and then closing the card. And what that's going to do is it's going to adhere the panel on the inside, but I was able to make sure that the heart was completely lined up by getting that lined up first before adhering it down. So now we have the little heart showing through exactly like we did on the white card, but we have that little pop of green on both the front as well as the inside. Now to finish it off, I wanted to put a little love you sentiment with the heart on the inside, and I thought it would be fun to put it on a little diagonal. I love that you can't actually see that until you open the card, and then when you open it, you get that cute little sentiment on the inside as well. And since the little window is only where that heart is, you have lots of space on the inside to write out a sentiment as well. To finish off the card, I decided to use some clear glaze and add a little bit of dimension to some of the pizza pieces. I thought it would be too much to use it on everything, so I decided to just use it on the onions, the pineapple, the olives, and the mushrooms. And then once I had that done, our card is complete, and we have this really cute pizza card. It's great for any pizza lovers in your life, and it has this really fun, unique window kind of die cut through the center that coordinates perfectly with the sentiment, and then we have the cute little sentiment stamped on the inside. I just think it's super cute, and it's just a great way to let someone know that you love them and that you're thinking of them. I hope today's video gave you some ideas on ways that you can create pizza-related cards for all the pizza lovers in your life. If you did enjoy today's video, I would love it if you would give it a thumbs up. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel and click that bell to be notified of future videos. As always, I appreciate you being here, and I hope to see you again soon. Thanks so much for watching.